Is the slide visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can proceed. Thank you.
Yeah. So
So good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to present this presentation on electric vehicle technologies and smart charging. I'm working as an assistant professor in NIT, Srinagar, JNK. So let's start with what are the benefits of the adoption of plug-in electric vehicles. As you already know, that one of the important point is the energy security. That is, energy is almost exclusively derived from the domestic resources, and we have to take into consideration that is while reducing the petroleum imports and leading to the nation energy independence, plug-in electric vehicles can contribute significantly to a balanced portfolio of domestically produced electrical energy. A cleaner environment, as we already know, that the plug-in electric vehicle produce the zero tailpipe emissions, and research shows that they are also they produce the less total carbon dioxide. And the ongoing trend nowadays is the increased energy generation from the renewable sources promises benefits of the reduced emissions, and is creating the stronger economy. It is also one of the factors like plug-in electric vehicles and associated infrastructure have positive impact on the local and the national economics by creating the new job opportunities and countries manufacturing these plug-in electric vehicles. So these are some of the benefits of the adoption of plug-in electric vehicles. Now, main benefits and the concerns are also there, because whenever we are going for some new technology, then the concerns are always there in that very particular change. So if you say the battery charging infrastructure is required, then we have the regulatory policies to create the charging stations by the utility network systems. These are actually some of the matters of the concern to promote the penetration of plug-in electric vehicles. So you can have concern is that you can have the simple and the affordable pricing should be there. That is, the pricing should be such that it should be beneficial to the all, and also the public convenience is always there. That is a public charging station should have should have the chargers that are actually required for charging in that very case, or we can have we also provide the convenience for the charging at the homes, but certain concerns are always there. And you can have benefit always, you know that this carbon dioxide emissions are reduced by using the renewable energy. And one more point is that whenever we are going for this electric vehicles, we can charging infrastructure, we can try to maximize the use of the renewable energy in that very case. So some of the pros and the cons, like low maintenance is there, pros efficiency, energy efficiency is there, then reduced emissions are there. And cons are actually you can have it can this battery can it can travel for a shorter distances. Battery pack replacement in that very case is this required, and then it is more expensive. Now, if you take the case of the PEV program, many of the countries are adopting this plug-in electric vehicle program nowadays, because of the cleaner we are going towards, that is cleaner environment. So for that very case, the plug-in electric vehicles are required. So we have to develop the best practices and the electric vehicle support equipment for that very purpose. So EVSC, that is the electric vehicle support equipment, is very important point. That is, it involves whatever is required, that is charging stations are mainly required for that very purpose. So we have to we have to develop the system in such a way that there should be the minimum impact of these localized grid impacts of increased PEV adoption through education and outreach of the stakeholders. And we have to develop the plug-in electric vehicle and electric vehicle support infrastructure with objectives to represent a new and potentially significant opportunity to increase the revenue and shape the load curves. Now, if you take the case of this diagram, in this case, you can say that now the Norway it leads the it leads this race of electric vehicle, in which we can say that 74.8% of the vehicles are electric in that very country. Now, one more point is that we have to develop the alternative business models also to support this EVSC industry. That is EVSC. It is in the recent stage. So what we have to do, we have to develop the installation codes. We have to develop the ordinances and regulatory permissions for that. We have to take into consideration that interoperability roadmap, integration issues we have to take into consideration. And these are some of the unique challenges. And we have to market the communication plan also for communicating and educating the parties for the successful implementation and adoption of plug-in electric vehicles and electric vehicle support equipment. Now, one more point is that we have to make into consideration these some policies so that it can be it can sell directly to the auto dealers, and the prepaid cards would be provided for 12 months for unlimited public charging. We can attract the transportation electrification customers. We have to provide a net of that, so that more and more people will be involved in that. So engage the community, that is very important part. And the most importantly, we can plan for the future. Now, if you take the case of this electric vehicle technologies, we will have the conventional, the sources of energy is gasoline, then hybrid, and then after that plug-in hybrid, and all electric. So consumption in this case, you can say the plug-in hybrid has the more of the battery as compared to that of the hybrid, and the all electric is using the battery. And emissions and consequently, if you take the case of the emissions would be reduced as we are going from the conventional to the all electric. So what are the plug-in electric vehicles? It uses the electricity from the battery as the primary source. The use of a plug-in electric vehicle, it eliminates the need for the gasoline or the diesel, and the cars and trucks have the batteries to supply the energy needed, and these will be need to plug into recharge. So we have the several types of plug-in electric vehicles, like battery electric vehicle, then we have extended range electric vehicle, then we have the plug-in electric hybrid. So if you take the case of the battery electric vehicle, so which is also known as the all electric vehicle, they depend on the electric motors to make them go. Large batteries give them a longer range, and they need to be plugged in into the power source for the charge. Now, second is the extended range electric vehicle. In that very case, we have the gasoline engine powers a generator that charges the battery, and the electric motor turns the wheels. They run on the electricity until the battery is depleted. And third one is the plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. It uses both a gasoline engine and the battery powered electric motor. So battery is actually charged in this case by the electricity generated by the brakes and by plug-in in the car. So these are series hybrid. So these can also be classified as the series hybrid, parallel hybrid, and the power split are the series parallel hybrid. So the electric motor provides the power to drive the wheels, and the sources of energy are either the battery pack or a generator powered by the thermal engine. So such vehicles are also known as extended range electric vehicles. Second one is the parallel hybrid. Both in this case, both the motor and the fossil fuel powered engine provides the power in parallel to the same transmission. And third one is the power split or series parallel hybrid. It actually combines the advantage of the both the series and the parallel hybrid concepts. Actually, it allows the running of the vehicle in a very optimal way using the electric motors only, or both internal combustion engines and the electric motors, which depend upon driving conditions. So these are the whatever I've stated, that the series hybrid configuration, then we will have the series parallel hybrid configuration and the parallel hybrid configuration. Now, the some of the more terminologies in this case is the state of charge. It is the index in percentage of the normal energy capacity of the battery, which remains in the battery, which determines the energy mode to drive. Now, the technical advantage of the PEV is that it can drive in a different energy mode. Like if you see the charge depletion mode, and then second is the charge sustaining mode. So the charge depleting mode, and this is the graph for the charge depleting, and first one is the charge depleting mode, and second one is the charge sustaining mode. That is, in charge sustaining mode, we have to sustain the charge in that. So in charge depleting mode, if you take the case of this charge depleting mode, it is powered only by the energy stored in the battery, and this is suitable for the urban driving. And charge sustaining mode, where the battery is recharged over a driving profile to maintain the SOC level. If you take the case of this charge sustaining mode, we have to maintain the SOC level, state of charge level. So the two modes can be combined depending upon the driving range to reap the full advantage of the plug-in electric vehicle. So if you can say that the discharge cycle will influence the energy demand over the distance travel and the environmental performance. Now these are some of the drivetrain configurations. Like the first one is that is we have the simple, that is we have battery with the plug-in charging facilities. Then after that charge controllers and power electronic devices and electric motor and transmission gear is used, which run the wheel. And second one is actually the hybrid system. So in that very case, we have the battery with the plug-in charging facilities, charge controller, and then which runs the electric motor. Then along with that, we have hybrid fuel system, which runs the combustion engine, and as a result, it runs that it also moves the transmission gear and as well as the wheels. So what are the different components of this drivetrain? We can take the case of this. So we have the electric motors, which can be AC or the DC. It is used for that very purpose. The electric generators. Then we have the inverters. As we know, that the battery packs are simply we can have these are the DC current. The AC motor is a plug-in electric vehicle is coupled with the battery pack using an inverter. The inverter converts the DC from the battery to AC and powers the AC mode, this motor. And the charger, it works in conjunction with the generator. It converts the AC electrical output from the generator to DC and charges the battery pack. These devices are actually fitted with the control mechanism by the charge controller to optimize the charging process, which prolongs the life of the battery. So, and one more thing is the battery pack, which is the most important part. That is, battery pack store the energy, that is required to power the plug-in electric vehicles. The variants of the electric vehicles use the different types of the battery packs, like we have the lithium-ion batteries. Of these systems, the lithium-ion battery pack will be the dominant battery pack in the future. So battery pack attribute heavily to the significant price difference between the normal vehicles and plug-in electric vehicles. So it is only, we can say that it is the difference between the normal vehicle to the to the plug-in electric vehicle is actually the cost of the battery. So it is actually the different components of the drivetrain. We have the energy storage system, power electronic converter, then motor, then along with that in hybrid system we will have the fuel tank, then internal combustion engine and mechanical coupling. So these are the two modes of operation, that is all electric mode and a blended mode, that is a hybrid mode we can say. Then you can have this charger, then control device is there, cord is connected to that connector, then this is known as the electric vehicle support equipment. So what are the different impacts? If we take the case of the different impacts, so from the power system point of view, the use of plug-in electric vehicle in a distribution system has impacts on the technical impacts on the distribution system. So
Gupta, sir. Excuse me, sir.
Yes, madam. I think there's a problem. I'll just.
Hello. Yeah. I'm. There is some issue. I will.
Okay, sir. Okay, so we are waiting, sir. No problem. So you can do slowly.
Oh, okay, sir. We'll wait, sir. Thank you, sir.
So, if you take the case of this plug-in electric vehicle in the distribution system, then it has the technical impacts in the distribution system. So we have the impacts of the PV in distribution level network. For charging, it has the technical impacts on the distribution system. So this impacts vary with the vehicle penetration level, then charging pattern, fleet charging profile, distribution network, the power losses, integration of PV at the transformer level. So if you take the case of this, when a local electric vehicle penetration hits 25% in a certain study, then peak load can grow up to 30%. So this is one of the impacts at the distribution level. So we have to take into consideration these factors. Now, other some of the impacts are that is we have the positive impact on the environment. It helps for the clean and transportation energy. So as we already know, it reduces the environmental that is, it reduces the gases like some of the harmful gases like carbon dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, and the sulfur oxides. So if you we can take as per the study, if half of the total vehicles on the road in the United States it will be replaced by the electric vehicles. So there is the 8% this increase in the total, you can say, total load of the system. So other impacts we can say is due to the increased penetration of the PV, increase or additional power load in the grid for charging PEVs in uncontrolled scenario where the consumer behavior and charging timings are unpredictable. So other impacts on the power grid due to the increased penetration and increase in the additional power load in the grid for charging PVs in uncontrolled scenarios. So we have to take into consideration these things. That is, the scenarios are either controlled or uncontrolled. So certain strategies must be required to manage the charging behavior to limit the daily charging peak. Now, this shows this graph shows in the uncontrolled and the controlled scenario. Here we will have uncontrolled EV charging where no optimization is there. That is, this is the load profile of the system in the gigawatt, and this is the uncontrolled. So when you see when we optimize this electric vehicle charging, in that very case we can say that in optimized way the charging level is at the point where we try to where we try to make this load curve as flat as possible. So that is the recent study by the researchers that must be taken into consideration. Now with the plug-in electric vehicle capacity range, with the plug-in electric vehicle, the battery capacity range from 2 to 17 kilowatt, the energy requirement will be 5 to 40 kilowatt when the slow charges. So the power demand of the charger is the function of the voltage and the current of the charger. So battery capacity determines the charging time and is inversely proportional to the state of the charge of the battery. So the electric load curve power system network depends on the percentage of PEV penetration and the charging strategies. So this thing we have to take into consideration. So demand response is also another dynamic benefit of grid by interrupting the plug-in electric vehicle demand on peak hours. So the plug-in bidirectional vehicle to grid batteries in a smart grid charging become distributed storage system for the electric grid. So these things we have to take into considerations. Now, the energy supply to the grid is a price that pays back with the additional cost of V2G batteries in the plug-in electric vehicle. So that technology we have to take into considerations. That is whatever we can also actually, it is simply nothing but a battery pack. So we can have explore the possibility, or we can develop the management strategies so that it V2G system, it allows the greater penetration and into the whole of the grid system. And however, in the maximum of the cases, what we do, we will try to have the penetration of the wind and solar resources in the grid. So and also, if you take the case of the impacts in terms of the power system, then it has the different aspects in terms of the power system. That is, we can say that the average operating temperature of the transformer will increase. Hello. हाँ जी सर. So large-scale penetration of electric vehicle will impact the different aspects of a power system. If you and that is the average operating temperature of the transformers will increase. there will be a potential power supply shortage if a large number of the battery charging profiles are there on the peak period. So batteries should be storing electricity from the lowest carbon emitting sources, namely this renewable energy. What we can try to do, we will try to use the maximum of these kind of renewable energy sources in that very case. So if you take the case of another impact is that the battery load curve depends on the time for recharging and charging the power. So new plug-in electric vehicle fleet impacts the electricity transport and generation capacity. So electricity grid operators require the innovative management methods to tackle the issue. More integration methods must be explored, and many of the researchers are working on that. So these innovations are also being considered in the framework of research and development efforts towards a smart and reliable grid. So the one more point is that utilities must know the location of plug-in electric vehicles so that they can devise their system in such a way that so that the rating should be such that it can take the large amount of the roads. If let us suppose that if the consumer adds a charging station at their home, the utility may not determine the adequacy of transfer capacity and mode of collection of additional expenditure for upgradation of the electrical system to meet the additional load due to the sudden charging by the plug-in electric vehicle consumer. As a mitigation strategy, you can say that the most of this utilities actually they are having developing the plug-in electric vehicle charging permit requirements. That is required. Why it is required? Because of the fact that they have to take into consideration all these factors so that the whole of the grid will not be overburdened. So we can also use nowadays nowadays it is a data science. Today is a world of data science, so we have to take into consideration the advanced data management system, and that is DMS. It will be critical to the solution of this problem. What we have to do, coupled with the data from the different sources, from the transformers, from the DS, it will help the operators to understand the operations in the real time. And the search is nowadays is going on in that using data analytics in this electric vehicles. So utility has to plan for the advanced metering infrastructure also. That is one of the important point, and integrated system model to manage the charging distribution environment. The service providers will need to manage the PEV charging load, providing incentives to the consumers in more diversified patterns. And the charging station should have facilities that communicate with PEV and determine the battery storage stated, and then transfer the information to the utility, and that is distribution management system. And this will enable the utility to either proceed with the charging the plug-in electric vehicle cycle or schedule it later. So these strategies must be adopted, and this can only be possible because of the advanced analytics and data management and distribution management system using the data analytics. So the main idea of that is charge only the PEVs with nearly depleted power battery when the utility is having peak energy. Now, one more point is that we have to provide the incentives for the network-friendly charging patterns. So that like the system should be such that it should be smart. Charging system should be smart and will be a key for both the consumer and the utilities, realizing the potential of electric vehicles. So the smart meters, what happens, it will track the energy use in the real time. A smart charger, which includes the charger that runs a timer that we can use, so that ensure that the plug-in batteries are charged only when the electricity is at the cheapest, saving the money to the consumer. And the more utilities should temporarily turn off the chargers in thousands of the homes or businesses to keep the grid safe during the peak hours. So that can only be possible by the smart charging system that can be done automatically with the least human intervention. So if you take the case of the electric grid, if you high penetration of plug-in electric vehicle in electric grid, it has it has some specific impacts also on the distribution system. Like we will have the phase imbalance, that a lower percentage of plug-in electric vehicle using single phase charging, it results in the larger variation in the current imbalance, but the lower total load reduces the voltage imbalance. So these kind of issues should be at the distribution level should be taken into consideration. And then since it is the power electronic devices, obviously we will have the power quality issues. So that we know that PEV charger works on the low voltage and converts AC to DC and supplies through the DC to DC converter. So these processes produce harmonic distortion in the distribution system. The nonlinear elements such as inverters and battery chargers increase the voltage distortion and current harmonic significantly in the power system. So if you take the case of the battery chargers for the plug-in electric vehicle from harmonic producing load significantly and produce harmful effects and the distortion in whole of the system. So that thing should we have to take into consideration. And nowadays the people are nowadays working on the microgrid, that is harmonic reduction in case of the microgrid charging system. So that we have to take into and such is going on in that area also. So another impact is the transformer degradation and failures. Actually, what happens that we are designing the transformer for typical load patterns, and when PEVs are deployed, the load pattern will change the power system and may not be capable of handling the new load pattern with additional load demand. As the study reports that the additional PEV load has increased the transformer failure ratio by 0.2% per year and reduced the life of the transformer by 69% for the peak or level 2 charging. So as we already know that we have the circuit breakers and fuse that are actually designed for a particular current level. So it also the harmonic distortion, it affects the circuit breaker also in that very case, the capability of these protecting devices. So the what is the idea? Idea is that the PEV will require the smart chargers that are integrated to the smart grid infrastructure with a different, there's a two-way communication in that very case. And we have to also develop the home area network and the smart grid communication standards, which play a significant role in the design and development of plug-in electric vehicle interfaces. Now standards. If you take the case of the electric vehicles, certain industry standards are defined by SAE J 1772 has defined the battery charging levels and to charge the battery. As per the US Electric Power Research Institute, it defines the three categories of the level. That is the level 1. It uses the US standard 120 volt AC, 15 ampere and 20 ampere branch circuit and used in the residential and commercial buildings. And it delivers the 1.44 kilowatt maximum power. Then we will have the level 2 charging. This method is based on the 240 volt AC single phase branch circuit with up to 40 ampere requiring a dedicated circuit. And then we have the level 3 is the suitable for fast charging through public facilities, which is based on 480 volt AC 3-phase circuit and enabling 60 to 150 kilowatt charging. An option implies a number of specific safety precautions. Level 3 chargers may recharge the battery, we can say up to 80% of capacity in a very short amount of time. So these are actually the SAE charging configurations and the ratings, and that AC level 1, AC level 2, then DC level 1 and the DC level 2, and these are actually the charges which are generally used for charging purposes. Now, type of charges, as I already know, that AC level 1, level 2 and level 3, then DC level 1, level 2 and level 3, and the level 3 is the fast as compared to level 1 and level 2. Now, if you take the case of technical issues, now about the technical issues, some of the technical issues which are faced in that the storage technology is actually lagging behind other critical technologies. While the research expenditure on battery technology is on the rise, it is still small when compared to other critical automobile and mobility related R&D spending. Nowadays the researchers are quite working on the battery and this battery technology. They are working on, they are adopting one of the, that is matrix battery technology or any other technology for and different configurations which are combined so that we can have the maximum benefit out of that. That is and the second point is that looking beyond the lithium. Nowadays the Toyota is working on the magnesium sulfur combination over the lithium, which ranks higher in longer storage hours, weight, reliability and life. So battery performance. The battery performance and cost are essential factors in the development of this battery electric vehicle. Key performance parameters of the battery are energy, power, lifetime, safety, and the cost. If you take the case of the battery, then in that very case, the lithium-ion batteries are the most commonly used batteries for vehicle application. However, they are expensive. And these lithium-ion batteries with an average age of 60 to 80 miles cost more than the price of differential between the this battery electric vehicle and traditional vehicles. And as per the United States Advanced Battery Consortium has set a target of $150 per kilowatt for the advanced electric vehicle batteries. Now, technical, if you take the case of the technical issues, these are energy is actually energy storage capacity is important to decide the distance to travel and mass of the battery pack. The high energy storage capacity depends on the high specific energy and energy density. Second is for the peak battery power depends on the range on the charge depleting mode and energy management and total weight of the vehicle. The factors affecting the lifetime of the battery are ability of the battery to withstand the degradation over time. It should meet the safety standards and thermal management requirements. Fast recharge time is necessary, but it reduces the battery life. Life cycle issues are and the availability of the lithium resource and recycling. So these are some of the technical issues. Now, if you take the case of the type material used in the batteries, hello. ठीक है सर, मैं अभी भेज देता हूँ. ठीक, ओके सर. So nickel metal hydrate batteries are typical batteries used for the manufacturers and the mass production of the battery electric vehicle. However, have reached their maximum potential. So car makers are moving to lithium-ion batteries, especially due to the higher energy density and the low self-discharge rate. It meets the energy storage requirements not only for plug-in electric vehicles, but also for the battery electric vehicles in short to medium term. So one of the other technical issues. Am I audible? Is that voice is audible?
Yeah, voice is audible, sir. No problem. But the picture is not coming. Sometimes the same problem is getting repeated, I think.
Yeah. There's some might be issue. This internet
Okay.
issues.
Okay, sir.
Is it visible now? This screen.
Yes,
Hello?
sir, it's visible.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
it's
okay.
visible.
So one of the other technical issues are battery disposal. If you see that electric vehicles are recycled after the useful life, while recycling batteries, a small percentage of the Cygnus battery metals, especially the lead and the cadmium, it will leak into the environment and affects the human health and ecosystem. But if you take the case of the recently battery technology development, is avoided the use of lead acid and the nickel and cadmium in the battery. So we have to take into consideration, and many of the researchers are also working in this area. So battery cost, the cost of lithium batteries includes the material cost, manufacturing cost, and the other cost for R&D, marketing, and transportation. So if you take the case of lithium-ion battery, costs are lower than the nickel metal hydride batteries, but the range of $600 to $700 per kilowatt hour is seen more realistic in the short to medium term. So high production volumes of lithium-ion batteries could significantly decline the cost. So these are some of the battery characteristics, like all electric range, lithium-ion, total capacity, specific energy. So now, next is the lithium supply security. If you take the case of the, if we current technology, so current technology for the plug-in vehicle is based on the lithium-ion battery and the electric motor. Lithium heavy metals and other rare metals such as boron and cobalt are used for the batteries and powertrains of electric batteries and this electric vehicle. So demand for these materials is expected to grow significantly due to the incoming market entrance of the plug-in electric vehicle in India. And if you take the case of reserves, then the largest reserves are China and South America. So Chile is actually leading one of more countries, that is the Chile is leading lithium metal producers, followed by Australia, China, Argentina, and United States. So half of the world known lithium reserves, about 5.4 million tons, are actually located in the Bolivia deserts. Other important reserves are located in Chile, China, and Brazil. So rare earth elements used in the batteries mostly are located in China, and that controls the world market of these elements. So one more technology nowadays we are using, if you take the case of from the technology point of view, nowadays we are going towards the battery swapping. This nowadays which is used. So what is the business model of that battery swapping? Its business model considers that the electric cars are built and sold separately from the battery pack, as the consumers are not allowed to purchase the battery packs. They must lease them from a one company, which is known as the Better Place, and which will deploy a network of battery swapping stations and expanding the battery electric vehicle range and allowing the large distance trips. So subscribed users has to pay distance fee to cover the battery pack leasing, charging, and swap infrastructure. So the cost of sustainable energy and other costs. Better Place has a signed agreement with the development in some of the countries. If you take the case of Australia, then Denmark, Canada, California, and Hawaii. So it is also one of the important infrastructure development, and our countries are also exploring that option nowadays. Now, what is a smart charging? So smart charging actually means adapting the changing cycle of electric vehicle to both the conditions of power system and needs of the vehicle users. So these facilitates the integration of electric vehicles by meeting the mobility the needs. Now, as per the smart charging, what we have to we must have the unidirectional uncontrolled charging, that is V1G, V2G, that is vehicle to grid, and V2H, that is vehicle to home or building, which will act as a supplement power supplies to the home. So the smart charging is nothing. So is nothing but developing the charging strategies in such a way that all the things are possible in a smart way. That is, we can have adapting the charging cycle of electric vehicle for both the power system and the vehicle users. Now, current concepts, if you take the case of the current concepts of the smart charging, it includes the time of use without automatic control, basic control, unidirectional control, bidirectional control, and dynamic pricing with automatic control. So, so we have, if you take the case of smart charging, then what are the different impacts of this smart charging? So, wholesale market, we have the peak shaving, portfolio balancing for the transmission system operator, frequency control, other ancillary service. For distribution system operator, we have the voltage control, local congestion and capacity management. And for if you take the case of the behind the meter, then increasing the rate of renewable energy self-consumption. So if you take the case of this smart charging, it reduces the cost associated with the fast and ultra fast charging and our priorities for mobility sector, yet slow charging are best suited for the smart approach that boosts system flexibility. But solutions like battery swapping, charging stations, and the buffer storage and the nighttime charging for electric vehicle fleets, it can help to avoid the peak demand stress from the fast and ultra fast charging. So these are some of the impacts of this EV charging on the solar based system. And from these, you can see with the V2G charging, there is a average change in the average, that is decrease in the average short run marginal cost. So this is about some of the statistics that that is the impact of the wind based system and impact of the solar based system. And in all the cases, you can say that there is the decrease in the marginal cost in all the cases. So that we have already discussed that what are the concepts of smart charging. Now, when no smart charging is there in the system, that we have already discussed, then whenever there is no smart charging in the system, then in that very case, what we try to do with the smart charging, we will try to balance we will try to make the load curve flat, so that that thing should be taken into consideration, and management strategies would be required for that very purpose. So that we have discussed, that vehicle to grid, that is unidirectional control charging. It includes the smart charging includes that. Then vehicle to grid, that is smart grid controls the vehicle charging and returns the electricity to the grid. And then vehicle to home, that vehicles will act as a supplement power suppliers to the home. So nowadays the working researchers are also working on the load management solutions. That is, it is necessary for coordinating the charging of multiple plug-in electric vehicles in a smart grid system. So what is that load management system? We have to make management strategies in such a way that the load generation should match the load, and that is and it should be, losses should be minimum in that very case. That is, we have to develop the real-time smart load management control strategy. So now, and one more thing is that for the smart charging infrastructure, the DC charging equipment is also required. So the battery charging vehicle is gearing up for the spread of the direct current fast charging technology, which promotes promises the drastic reductions in the battery charging time. So these kind of different kind of charging or smart charger, these are required for that very purpose. Now, one more important point is that the curbside charging station. So curbside charging stations are installed in the curbside, which allows access to the vehicles from street traffic, public right of way. So the recommended standards for the cover stripe charging are the location should be immediately prior to the intersection in the direction of the vehicle travel public charging station, and the vehicle should assess the electric vehicle support equipment from either perpendicular or diagonal to the charging station depending upon the width of the road. So these are some of the criteria which should be followed for that curbside charging. These are now many of the countries are now following this infrastructure. Now this is the smart charging infrastructure. If you take the case of the smart charging infrastructure, then the researchers are working on this smart charger infrastructure. That is usage, and the users should know exactly that what is the actually what is the status of their battery, and what are the recent battery stations that are free, or we have the least congestion in that.
Neeraj sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Actually, there are some technical issues.
Okay.
Sir, excuse me, sir. Yes, sir. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, can you wind up within 5 minutes, because there is a central inaugural function from AICD Delhi.
Okay. You are okay. Okay, I will then try to do that.
Yeah. Quickly, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, it's a smart charging infrastructure. That is, in smart charging infrastructure, you can have cloud, which is actually taking into this. We have the information of all these things which are available. Then off-street charging, nowadays we are using that also. Now next is the integration of PV to the electric vehicle, that I have already discussed, that a vehicle to grid system, it is capable to send power to the electric grid. So that thing we have to take into consideration. By the smart charging, we have to take into consideration the fact that we have to balance, there should be the balance between the load and the generation. So there should be the balance between the load and the generation, or we have to prepare the regulatory framework to foster the innovation to increase the PV value without compromising the reliability of that. So this is what happens from the power system perspective point of view. There are different models that has been proposed by the different researchers for that. If you take the case of this electric vehicle, so in that vehicle we can have it. You should have the ZIP kind of modeling in that very case. So ZIP modeling is required. That is nowadays researchers are working on that, and researchers are also working on the different other modeling strategies for the power system researchers. Now promotion strategies, incentives to the consumers, that is manufacturers, then the EVSE charging infrastructure, private and public fleet owners, promote V2G technology, and incentives to administrative promotions for the public plug-in electric vehicles. Then we have to take the case of the charging. Then we have the without with wide charging and wireless charging, those options, and our researchers are also working on that very area. Now, if you take the case of inductive charging is there now many of the researchers are nowadays working on that very particular area, so that instead of that is we can have the wireless charging system on that. Then swapping stations that I already told you about, the better place. Then we have the PEV charging facilities. So the technical challenges are the upfront investment in batteries, huge, standardization is difficult. Swapping stations require a lot of financial investment. Safety and reliability is a big concern. Now, one more factor is that the researchers are working on the area, that is that the temporal and spatial uncertainties. That we have to nowadays the researchers are also working in the area of that to match the that is temporal and spatial uncertainties, and to meet the that is the requirement of both these tools. That is we have the charging strategies at a particular point of time and then particular space. So we have to coordinate between these two. Then these are different methods which are used for the temporal and spatial uncertainties, like in temporal dimension and spatial dimension, and many other researchers are working in that. And even I am also working in that very area. So PV modeling and simulation that we have to take into consider this is very important. That is, we have to predict the traffic dynamics and network flow patterns by solving how to assign the time varying to the different consumers. Now, what we have to do, we have to take into consideration the power distribution system, which is which is a different domain, and the transportation system that the researchers are also nowadays working in that very particular area. So control and management of parking lots, it is also one of the area which needs interest, and that is how the control and management can be done even for the isolated charging stations. So then we have this is the structure. Then we have B2G technology that I'll discuss, and B2B technology is there. So central. One more thing is that whenever we are going for electric vehicles, so we will not go for this. Nowadays we have the centralized system, so we must adopt the decentralized system so that we can have decentralization of everything, so that everything is in control of the this. You can say in the users and users. So these are some of the research areas which the researchers can explore. And many of the researchers are working on that. That is planning, control, and management for the parking lots, cyber security of plug-in electric vehicles, then impact evaluation of plug-in electric vehicles on power system stability, strategies for the plug-in electric vehicles and photovoltaics for peak demand reduction, smart energy management in microgrid, wind power generators and plug-in electric vehicles, using plug-in electric vehicles to implement ancillary services, plug-in electric vehicle management and smart distribution systems, and optimal control for the plug-in vehicle fleet in microgrid, and energy management in the microgrid and plug-in electric vehicles, distributed energy resources, and small smart home appliances. So many of the researchers are working on the area. It's a new area, and definitely we can explore the possibility and working on that. So this is about whole of the lecture. Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
okay, sir. Then can I leave?
Yeah, 1 minute, sir. If there is any queries,
Is there any? Is there any question?
Yeah.
Okay, if any questions are there, you can also mail me or like that. So no issues. And actually now this lectures are classwork is also going on. So
Yes, sir.
that's
Yes,
why
sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
nowadays.
1
Okay,
minute,
sir.
sir. 1 minute, sir.
Okay, sir.
Sir, for elaborating your topic in recent EV technologies and smart charging, the topic about plug-in EV and EVSC gave us a wide area where we can work and where we can optimize. Your technologies in plug-in EV also gave us a wide area. You gave a detailed explanation about every slide. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much for inviting. And we have a very small time, but still.
Okay. In future programs, I will invite you.
Okay. Definitely, if you. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
All the participants are requested to join the AICTE inaugural function now. You have got mail.
No.
Yesterday, you would have got a mail from AICTE regarding the inaugural function which is going to happen now. So you are requested to join the inaugural function of AICTE now.
And is there an attendance link?
That session will be starting at 11:15.
We've not got the link, madam.
I'm regarding attendance link for the previous session.
Sir, it is an email. Kindly check your mail ID, no?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Next session will be starting at 11:15.